This is Billy Key, we Sangsters, programme 2, fi Pirn Taed Bothy ballads.
We are in a kitchen at Mainsakin Craigie in Tarland, and I was born in Huntly.
And who did you first get into traditional music?
Well, started fiddle lessons when I was primary 4 at school, but it was classical, and I wasn't really getting on off a wheel with that. So went to the Drumdelgie fiddlers in Huntly, jyned them, played with them for a long lot of years. And through the fiddling we went to festivals, and I heard folk singing and poetry and all, so it was really through that, got to Keith Festival and Strichen.
And was it already in your house? Was your family
Oh, aye. Dad's a piper. My granny plays the piano. She used to play in dance bands and play the organ in the kirk in Huntly. So there was music and hogmanay and family parties and all, and granny would be in the piano, and that was her for 6 hours straight. And we'd all sing. We had our family songbook that Mum printed out, and we had all our songs in it.
And what about the language you grew up speaking?
My mum's born and bred Huntly, so it was Doric. My dad's Pitlochry, but he's been up here since 70s. So he's a bit of Perthshire Doric, really. But my mum's side of the family, just Doric all the time.
My family were born and brought up in the real Dundee, in Hilton, and worked their lives in the factories. But I think as a Sandy Holer, which means somebody from Broughty Ferry, have I been interested in just finding out about what happens to be really under my feet? Where just now, for a long time it was Angus, it was Forfarshire. So I'm just interested in what happens to be wherever I am.
Chris Wright in Broughty Ferry and Shona Donaldson in Tarland via Huntly. Sangsters fi guy different airts of Scotland, but both with a passion for their local sang tradition, whether oral or printed.
The Poet's Box was the longest lived of the broadside publishers in Scotland. Broadsides were one-sided sang slips, mostly. You could buy them for a penny. You'd sometimes see hawkers selling them at fairs and the like, but the Poet's Box was a wee shop in the Old Overgate in Dundee, and it was around for about 60 years, closed in the 1940s, and latterly it was owned by a chap cried Loudon McCartney. He would publish on a wee hand press. He would collect old songs and publish them in the hundreds of thousands. And money-wise, he was single-handedly responsible for repopularising some old songs. For that reason, we're not quite sure how much of the oral tradition is truly oral or how much of an interplay it has with text. And it's likely it's maybe half and half.
Chris was lucky to get work on the Kister Ritchie's Topper and Dulches archive, Dana Darg that broke him into contact with songs for his own neighbourhood.
When I started raking through these old tapes, I found some amazing things I had no idea were in there. There was one that was sung by a chap cried William Taylor, well, it was a Dundee loon, and eventually it dawned on me that it was a bothy ballad for what is New Dundee, but used to be part of rural Angus 100 years ago. It's talking not so much about the fairmen, but more about the lives of the workers that would keep the bleached cloth into Dundee. We hae twa pair upon that place, some firm work for to do. Sometimes we're at the harrow boys, sometimes we're at the pleugh. Sometimes we're driving with a lie, and that's nae word olie. Aye, and when the rain it does come on, we're drafted to Dundee. For the bleach field itself, you can read about it in books today with the linen trade, but the sang is the only way that we ken what life was really like for the lads that used to work there. So I find that just a thrilling aspect of the social history that you only get through the sangs, really. Now we hae a grieve upon this place, fa's name is Jock McBride, and a finer chiel you couldna find in a' the countryside. His rosy cheeks, aye, and winning ways, they are a treat to see. Aye, and there's routh o' joy for man and beast at Panmure by Dundee. There was ye day I set myself a wee task. I wondered to myself, how many songs could I find in just a mile radius of the house that I grew up in? And sure enough, I started finding 2, 3, 4 songs within just a mile radius. There was ye time I was up recording a chap cried Hamish Rob. He grew up in Wellbank in Angus, and he had a routh of songs. His mother and father were particularly interested in songs. They used to gang to the poet's box, and he mentioned that his favourite song was cried the Cauld Water Well, that it was related to this wishing well down off the Arbroath Road. It was just this lovely song that I've nae found anywhere actually in any other kind of collection, which is pretty unusual actually. For some may praise the brightness o' the blue Italian skies, or a frick sunny splendour where the priceless diamond lies. But gie me scenes o' childhood where the daisy and bluebell they rear their head together side the Cauld Water Well.
Chris has now joined up with his friend Steve Byrne to get into the skills and gar the bairns tak tent o' a forgotten heritage.
In about 2012, 2013, I started taking recordings back to Arbroath to let the bairns hear folk for the tune that had been recorded. Sounds like a simple thing to do, but actually the process of doing that for the bairns was a revelation, because the bairns had no idea there was songs about their tune. This particular song was for a wifey called Mabel Skelton, and she was for a line of folk that worked in the mills in Arbroath, and it wasn't the jute mills in Arbroath, it was flax mills. There was a place called the Broughty Mill, a kenpeckle big in the bairns and Aberdeen, the tune kins what it is.
And what was their reaction?
They took to it like ducks to water. I mean, it was just incredible that they were that taken aback that they had a song about their tune. You can, there must be about 300 or 400 bairns in Arbroath ken that song now.
Fae Arbroath to Deeside now, where I spak to Shona Donaldson and her man Paul Anderson, one of the most kenpeckle fiddlers in the northeast. A combination of sang, lead and music I couldn't resist speering about.
The Greg Duncan Folk Song Collection is a collection of 8 volumes of songs, over 3,000 songs, collected in the northeast by Gavin Gregg and James Bruce Duncan, a minister and a school teacher, just afore the First World War. They went round the country and recorded them. And of course, at that time, it was all written down by hand. So Noble Huntly was Isaac Troop's songs. Isaac Troop was one of 3 brothers for Awthin Wells that contributed a lot of songs to the Greg Duncan Folk Song Collection.
Noble Huntly, great in fame. Noble Huntly, Noble Huntly, Noble Huntly, great in fame and great in warlike story.
I come across the scene, of course, it just kind of stuck out being for Huntly. And it didn't have a tune to it, but when I read the words, it just made sense to put it to the fiddle tune Tullach Gorham.
Tullach Gorham, it's in the most iconic strath space. I darken fun it was written, but Tullach Gorham's on the banks of the Spey. The date, I suspect it's probably late 1600s. It just feels like it's come out of the landscape. It's just got an unmistakable Highland Scottish character, and if you hear it played right, it just gets the huckles up. I feel myself getting a bit excited.
Is it one of your favourite ones to play?
It is, aye. It's actually quite a tricky tune to play if you to really play it, but there's a raw fire in the belly. There's a gar, aye. I mean, the old boys when I was learning about Deeside said you play your space with a bit of gar in it. It's like vocal character. But Scots kind of put that different way. You have to play your space with a deal in them. It's got that fire in the belly, I think, and it doesn't sound like it's anybody who's ever been in contact with continental music. It sounds completely native.
Funnily enough, if I can remember the quote, Robert Ferguson, who rails against the influence of Italian music in Edinburgh in the middle of the 18th century, he uses Tullach Gorham to rouse up national spirit to resist posh Italian music. Fiddlers your pins and temperfects, and rose at wheel your fiddlesticks, but banish vile Italian tricks for out your quorum, nor fortes with pianos mix, gie us Tullach Gorham. And he launches into the But yourself, steeped in the fiddle tradition of here, how important is the Scots language in relation to that fiddle tradition?
To me, personally, I think they're absolutely, completely intertwined. To me, language is it's important for it remaining distinctive and capturing the essence of a place.
I mean, it's not something that I ever think about. I just spick away I spick and I sing away I sing. You can, it just comes out and that's it.
I'm pretty broad. They really didn't change how I speak when I'm performing. No. Whether it's in America or... I mean, you have to be understood, certainly, but I find if you speak clearly, folk can follow you if they're listening.
In Huntly, there was a kebab shop in... where was he for again? Was he Egypt?
The Doric kebab.
The Doric kebab, it was called. He was for Egypt and he had this great Doric accent. He'd come out with Doric words all the time, and I can mind being in when a lot of the young loons and quines were coming out to pubs, and there was a sit-down bit in it and he would aye say, "Oh, tables are for food, nae for hearses." I think it's just great. The youngsters just loved him because he was speaking in their language.
And in that language, who money owe ye out there ken that you're Pirn Taed.
The Pirn Taed Loonie. Pirn Taed is when your taes are going in a way. Ticky Taed would be the same, wouldn't it? If you're Ticky Taed.
Hen Taed in Ayrshire is the expression.
I think it's the same thing they're describing.
Aye. My granda, I had 10 to 2 feet. So they were out the way. And when he broke his ankle, he was awful upset. He had to say to the surgeon, "Mine have got 10 to 2 feet, dinna straighten a fit and I'll lay the brain out the way." So, but the Pirn Taed Loonie, it's just a wee nonsense song. I suppose you could kind of think it was Scots mouth music, kind of equivalent to the Gaelic Push the Bell. And a wee bit of it goes, "Oh, when I was a little wee Pirn Taed Loonie, I was aicad still a little jockey. In night I was sitting on my granny's window sill, eating sweeties with a brown paper pokey. Along came a lassie and she offered me a kiss, a thing I would never think of scorning, but she bolted with my sweetie's tongue my head through the window, and my granny telt me that next morning. Oh, never tie a bucket till a big dog's tail, or take a drink of water out a bucket or a pail, for it's plenty on a stand for a bobby or a bop, that the reddest chicken tables I are gotten at the top."
Brilliant. When I was a wee boy, I can't mind if I was Pirn Taed or Hen Taed or the otherwise play fitted. But I was one of them, and an old boy round the corner for me, when he saw me, used to say, "Wally Kai, turn your feet the other way."
The other twa North East quines I interviewed for Sangsters were both studying Scots music at the Royal Conservatoire in Glasgow. Iona Fyfe also hails from Huntly, but first, Christy Scott from Buckie, singing about a Muckle Gawkit Gype.
Nu they doon upon the shore, I thought I'd hae a duke. So I took off my beats and clays and tried to be a duke. When I came out gae shivery lush, I felt a forlorn, for not a sign o' any clays were there that I had worn. The only thing upon the sands was just a lassie's shawl, so I dressed mysel up in it, but I was off a call. Syne taking a' the back roads hame fan Liza ower the dike. Yells, "Here's your clays with compliments, ye Muckle Gawkit Gype." So I canna thole the women folk, they're far too cute for me. Sometimes I think that a' my days a bachelor I'll be, but I just crack another spunk, and when I licht my pipe, it's soothing consolation to a Muckle Gawkit Gype.
Is there a happy ending to that story?
Unfortunately not. No, he's lost his watch and his clays and his wallet.
Tell me about your own family. Are you farmer or fisher?
Mostly fisher, aye. My father's side is for Fynachdy, so great-granda, granda and dad are fishermen. My mother's side, my great-granny, she was fairman originally. Then my mother's father used to be a fisherman and a, so quite used to the men going awa all the time, off to sea.
I once interviewed women for Lossie, and one of them came away with a phrase when they were gutting herring at the Farlands, as they called them. One of them said, "We used to hain a puckle stains to flag awa the gouse." At that time I thought that could be medieval Scots. We used to hain, no hay, but hain, preserve, to keep aside. We used to hain a puckle stains to flag awa the gouse. We used to preserve a few stones to frighten away the seagulls. And
they need it in Aberdeen.
You do.
Even now, between us, even just for you and Huntly and me and Buckie, There's the odd slight word that even we would say different.
There's some phrases as well.
Phrases, aye.
Christy used to come out with some really wild stuff when we were biding together. I used to say, "Fit? What?"
Aye, sometimes you can't even translate them because you're like, what does it mean?
It's a sair fecht for a half chad bap.
Aye, that's a good one.
Say it again.
It's a sair fecht for a half chad bap.
Tell me about the one about the tatties.
Oh, it's my favourite one. The phrase is, tatties ur side. That was just something you said all the time. Kane, oh, tatties. To the extent that you shortened it. And I remember being in a pub one of the first months I was doing here and somebody going, what are you on about tatties for? Oh, just tatties ur side. You can like, oh, it doesn't matter, I hope's lost kind of thing. When the fishermen were out in the boats and if the boat began to sink, obviously you would chuck your in it had any weight to try and keep the boat above the water for as long as possible in the hope of being saved. And in a last ditch attempt, you would throw your tatties out the kitchen of the boat, throw the tatties ur side, even for another 2 or 3 seconds to keep your head above the water. So that's obviously progressed through the years and has kind of ended up meaning, oh, tatties are ur side, that's it, all hope's lost, there's no point wishing.
So it's basically when the game's a bogey, when you're 3-0 down in the 3rd minute injury time,
Aye.
you've no chance of coming back.
No chance.
Tatties over the side.
Tatties ur side.
One of the reasons why the North East is still hoaching with Scots sang is the tradition of the bothy ballads for the ploughman that rocht in the Muckle Fern tunes there. Shona Donaldson and Iona Fyfe.
I get up to Efford for to get a fee. I fell in with Jimmy Brune, we him I did agree. Come a high, come a do, a high come day, I come a diddle, come a dandy, oh. I fell
Well,
in
most of the
with
bothy ballads that you hear are ones that were sung on a farm at a time by folk that were working on a farm, and then ains that are done in a melancholy looking back at it why. And then there's the corn kisters as well, but this song, Guys a Tooch, is a genuine bothy ballad. My great-great-grandfather was the grieve at Broadlands farm, and Broadlands is a farm that's mentioned in Drumdelgie, just near Huntly, and that was in my family for quite a few years. And this Guys a Tooch is probably one of my favourite bothy ballads, and it's fae Arun Afford Why. And I think it's just the fact that the guy gets a raw deal. The lad is nae in a very good time with it.
The gaffer he got word o' this and orders did lay doon. If I did the like again he'd pit me frae the tune. Come a high, come a do, a high come day, high come a diddle, come a dandy, oh. We hae a gallant Bailey, aye Wallace is his name. He can fare it up the Kype and he tacks do not came. Come a high, come a do, a high come day, high come a diddle, come a dandy, oh.
There's a lot of different kind of bothy songs. So you've got love songs, I mean that's all going to be something to write about. But the hardships of everyday work in life, you couldn't really speak about your employer that much, because of course you got paid at the end of your 6-month fee, so if you stepped out a line you'd be doing a road, you wouldn't get your fee. So you'll get to the blue and twa will drive the neeps, and the owls and they'll be after you with stray rips round their queets. But fan that we were yarn forth and turning out the yoke, the snare dang on so thick and fast that we were like to choke. So being for Huntly, there's a lot of songs and a lot of bothy ballads for round about that area. One of the most famous songs really in the Scots tradition, and especially in the bothy ballad tradition, would be Drumdelgie, which is just a couple of miles outside Huntly. So being born and brought up in Huntly, it was on my radar. And every time we went up the 96 towards Inverness, there's a signpost to Drumdelgie. Greg and Duncan recorded 21 versions of this song. It's nae farmed on a mare. It's nae a working farm. I think they've put it into holiday cottages. There was bison on it for a while, and trees. Aye, there's trees all way. So it's a bit sad being the biggest farm in the North East.
A ye time.
Aye. So Drumdelgie really is just a song about everyday life at the farm. At 5 o'clock we quickly rise and hurry down the stairs. It's there to corner horses and likewise struck in their hair. Syne after working half an hour it's to the kitchen goes. It's there to get our breakfast, which generally is brose. So it's really plain spicking. There's nothing fancy and posh about this. It's just straight down the middle. This is what
There's
happened.
the facts of life in Drumdelgie.
That's exactly it.
The fairy wheel Drumdelgie, your weedy wither and na. The fairy wheel Drumdelgie, I'll bid ye adieu, and I'll leave ye as I got ye, a maist uncivil crew.
We're coming to the end of Sangsters, but I'd like to leave with a few Gowden favourites that kithe the beauty of Scots sangs and the feelings of the sangsters that sing them. Here's Iona with Logie o' Buchan.
It's Logie o' Buchan, it's Logie the lead. They tina wa dreamy that dealt in the yard. For played on the pipes and the fiddle say small. They tina wa dreamy the flute o' the mall. Saying think na lang lassie though I'll gang awa, but I'll come and I'll see you in spite o' them all.
Sometimes I've had this huge inner conflict of who to speak, and the fact that this is supposed to be different. It's supposed to be just like Gaelic. It's supposed to be a different language.
When I was at school, we were given lessons on speaking, reading and writing in Doric. Even the Twits by Roald Dahl was read to us in Doric, which was amazing. The Egypts.
That's so strange that happens in Buckie, because in Huntly we didn't hear it.
And it's making sure that the parents have got that opportunity. God, if somebody pushed Scots singing a wee bit more with me as a parent, you never know. I might be years ahead of I am now.
For me, it gave me validation. That's really what it did for me. I remember making the conscious decision to change from singing in English to singing Scots. And it was totally liberating. But not just for a personal level. For me, it was almost like my whole world opened up. It validates my culture. It validates my folk. It validates everything that we're about. And really wanting to sing in Scots. And I could never get back to singing in English. I just couldn't do it because it doesn't resonate anymore.
John Moran for the heart of the Burns country.
Yestreen, I had a pint of wine, a place where body sauna. Yestreen lay on this breast o' mine, the Gowden locks o' Wanda.
Probably my favourite Burns song is Yestreen I Had a Pint of Wine. To me, it's a melancholy song. When you ken the story behind it, then it makes more sense, because he had an affair when he was in Dumfries with Anne Park, who was a barmaid, I think, at the Globe. So she had a bairn to Burns and died no that long after childbirth. And Jean Armour had a bairn, so there was Burns with his illegitimate child and Jean Armour with this other child. In fact, Jean Armour said to him, "Bring the wean home, I'll look after the wean." So Anne Park's lassie was brought up as Burns' own wean, and out of all his weans apparently was the one most like him. And then Burns goes and writes this for Anne Park. He writes this for her, and there's his wife. As a wife, how must you have been thinking about that he writes something so beautiful?
And was it published at the time?
I'm not sure about that, actually.
She might never
have ken.
She probably wouldn't have.
Right. But even at that, it's still quite heartrending to me that he would do that. And so he writes this for Anne Park, and for me it's melancholic because there's somebody deed, for me, lust rather than love. So the pint of wine to me then becomes instrumental in the song, because the pint of wine is him sitting in the pub, he's thinking back to what's just happened, and in between verses he's tanking this pint of wine and just feeling absolutely dreadful at what he'd done, but coming out with some amazing, amazing stuff.
The thing about that, the melody's exquisite.
It's just a brilliant song.
Did Burns put that melody to it? Or was
He did. It's The Banks of Banner. It's an Irish melody. He put that to the song.
The Kirk and State may join and tell Deeside things among them. The Kirk and State can go to hell. I'll get it, my Anna. She is the sunshine of my
And finally, the Scots sang that's become an international anthem, with love for the present, langin for the past, and belangin to Scotland. Robin Stapleton, the Bonnie Galloway.
I'd say growing up that Burns was a very big influence, and that was probably for me the route into singing in Scots. But it would be rare for me to hear a Galloway song sung in a Galloway Irish dialect, and that for me was something that I knew was going to have to be my way of singing so that it could be true to my own roots. But Burns, the vast collections of Burns songs and the number of Burns songs that I learnt growing up in the area gave me licence to express myself in the Scots language for the first time. It was age of 7 that I started singing in these competitions, and I really loved it, and I kept on doing it. I loved learning Auld Lang Syne, the original and longer version. I just think the words are very beautiful. We twa hearin about the braes and poo the gowans fine, but we've wandered monies a weary fit sin Auld Lang Syne. We twa he paddled in the burn frae morning sun till dine, but the seas atween us braid he roared sin Auld Lang Syne.
And there's a hand my trusty fear, and gaze a hand o' thine, and we'll tak a recht get welly washed for all the